May the 4th be with you.
And with you.
Almost.
Well, not just yet,
Yeah.
right? We're talking about tomorrow. People from all across the globe will celebrate Star Wars Day. The franchise has captivated fans for decades, generated billions of dollars at the box office, and has seen several successful spin-offs.
So joining us now to discuss this is Dan Zehr. He's the co-author of the Star Wars book and the host and brand director of the podcast Coffee with Kenobi. Thank you so much for joining us. So, I think we can say we're both fans of Star Wars, but you have that thing in your brain that a lot of people that I don't have, where you remember all sorts of details and trivia and all kinds. So he's your guy.
I mean, like Star Wars for me, when it came out in 1977, Episode 4, it was a seminal moment in my life, like I know yours, Dan, and a lot of other people, where. You know, your imagination, I don't think that I could, as children, I was 8 when it came out, I don't think that we could have imagined this world that George Lucas created for us.
Yeah.
And so that's why it was so mind-shattering.
Remember when I asked you the first time you remember being awestruck?
Yeah.
And I said it was seeing stars in the sky, and you said it was sitting in the movie theater.
Seeing Star Wars.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So is that why it resonates with fans every year, and even when it's not May the 4th?
Well, who wouldn't love a story that celebrates found family, the spectacle and all the incredible special effects that ILM bring to it, John Williams' music, which has become the oxygen of Star Wars.
So tomorrow, May the 4th be with you. How will you be marking this day? How should fans celebrate?
Well, obviously, I'm hanging my lightsaber by the chimney with Cara in the hopes that Obi-Wan Kenobi will soon be there. But you've got a lot of options if you're a Star Wars fan. Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, is out in theaters for the entire week. It's been 25 years since that first came out in 1999. There are several theaters that are showing a 9 Skywalker film marathon, which is absolutely incredible. Plus, Disney Plus is going to drop Star Wars Tales of the Empire, a 6-episode series, animated series, which is amazing. I've seen it, and I can't wait until you see it too.
And so speaking of multiple Star Wars projects on the horizon, how do you feel about the future of the brand and the storyline and where it's headed? I mean, we've had people fell in love. If you weren't a fan of Star Wars and you were introduced, if you're a younger person, through The Mandalorian or through Andor, I think it's I think The Mandalorian is a great entryway for people who may not be familiar with Star Wars to get familiar with it. But there have been so many, and Andor, I think if you are someone who wanted to know about the bureaucracy of the Empire, like there's some nerds out there who do care about that, and it's well done.
I know, Vlad. I know one of them.
There's that, but we just put up a list here: The Acolyte, Skeleton Crew, season 2 of Andor, season 2 of Ahsoka. What's your take on all of this that they have coming up, that Disney has coming up?
I think the great thing about all the options that Disney and Lucasfilm are providing is that it hits all ages. You've got the Young Jedi Adventures for preschool kids. You've got Andor, which you just mentioned, which is for a much more mature audience. You got all the great animated things. And then The Mandalorian is such an incredible gateway to Star Wars. In fact, in my day job, I'm an English teacher, and we use The Mandalorian on Fridays to incorporate the modern myth, which is Star Wars, and how it pulls in other aspects of culture into the story itself. There's just so much to enjoy. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Dan, did anybody ever tell you that your name, Dan Zehr, is kind of like a Star Wars name?
It sort of is.
Right? I mean, has anybody... I almost wondered if it was a pseudonym, because I'm like, that name is kind of cool. Like...
You know, I'll take it. I'm sure my wife would just be thrilled to hear you say that.
I'm sure Mrs. Dan Zehr is like, yeah, really, a Star Wars name. That's exactly what I wanted on my marriage certificate. Dan, thank you very, very much.
She's an amazing sport.
And
the great thing about Star Wars is, speaking of my wife and my kids, that's a great way. You know, if you love Star Wars, you're probably celebrating it with your family and your friends, and that communal experience is just so rich and so much fun.
Oh, wait, Dan, before you go, I do have one question. How old are your kids?
They are 10, 22, and 25.
Okay, so when you first introduced, let's talk about the 10-year-old. What was the first movie or the first anything Star Wars you introduced them to? Because I've had this thing where when my nephews were little, they're now 14 and 18, I tried to introduce them to Superman the movie, for example, and they were like, What is this
This old
nonsense?
special
What
effects.
is this? What am I watching?
Yeah.
Where's Superman? Because he doesn't appear for the first hour, and I was so disappointed. So I want to make sure that with my 14-month-old,
Yeah, I was going to say, this is asking for a friend
asking for a
question.
friend, what was
Yes.
the first movie?
So for him, it was, I think he was 3 and we watched the original, A New Hope, because that's the way you have to indoctrinate people into that. And then with the animated stuff, we actually watched Rebels pretty early on. And then as things came out, we would watch them together. I think the first movie he saw in a theater was Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. And so that's how we did that. But with the older boys, it was pretty neat because we did the famous machete method, which is episodes 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah. Dan Zehr, thank you very, very much. May the 4th be with you.
Hey, may the 4th be with you both. Thank you so much.